Charles Joly, and I am at my home bar in Chicago. My favorite job or project is, it's hard to pick just one. I've had many, many lives in my adulthood, if you will, in the last 25 years. So it's hard to pick my favorite project, but I certainly have some things that I'm proud that we've put together. Crafthouse Cocktails, which is my line of bottle cocktails, is going on 8 years now, and we're still a little independent company. We're just the kind of the scrappy little brand that could, and we have been able to survive for the past 8 years, so that's been amazing. Getting to design my own bar tools and glassware, I think it's every bartender's dream, and so I've been able to do that in this line of barware that I put out about 6 years ago, and have continued to work on new designs and whatnot. And our line is called Crafthouse by Fortessa, and so we've gotten to take my love of antiques and design, and then work it into functionality that we know works behind the bar. And so that's been awesome, and just something that I never thought that I would have the opportunity to do. And I guess on that as well, I have a little side project for fun called Telltale Vintage, which is just a Instagram vintage shop that I do with one of my best friends out of California. And keep us from becoming hoarders, we've taken our wares online and we share our antiques and our love of vintage stuff with the world, and kind of rehome it. And it gives me reasons to still go to estate sales and to flea markets and things. Chicago is an underrated food city. I want to say that first and foremost. It's an incredibly international city here. It's got food from all over the world. So I've grown up with all types of food. But I think it goes back to the roots. I was raised by my grandparents, who they're both first generation Lebanese. And so I grew up with this Mediterranean cooking that you would associate it with. We had a grapevine growing on the backyard, and we ate the leaves to make dolma. And so I'm wildly nostalgic when I get really great, really authentic Mediterranean food, and especially from the coast there, and Lebanon and down into Israel or whatnot. You see a lot of similarities in the cuisine, and so that definitely makes, puts a smile on my face. I get made fun of when it comes to sports. It's if we're playing Trivial Pursuit, it's probably not going to be the pie piece that I'm going to win for the team. That said, though, I do enjoy playing sports. I run really regularly, so it's kind of like, I guess, an individual sport. I like cycling, and whether it's mountain biking or road biking. But I haven't played any team sports in a long time, probably on a regular basis, not since college. Although in my 20s, when I was playing music and I was in a band, we were on an adult wiffle ball league. I'm not sure if you guys know what wiffle ball is, but it's a little white plastic ball with holes in it, and it's hollow, and you use a plastic bat. And so you can whip this ball, and by putting your finger over the holes, and because it's open on one side, it'll do all sorts of crazy things. And so it's a pretty ridiculous to watch a bunch of adults play this. But actually, as recently as a month ago, I played wiffle ball out in California with some friends that we were traveling with. So it's if you ever have the opportunity, everyone can play. You need very little to no skill, and it's a good time. It's hard to pick just one treasured possession when I think of what is my most, because I do have a love of design. I have a love of antiques and vintage items. I think part of growing up with my grandparents, they came from a generation that didn't throw anything away. And so and things from their era as well were made to be kept, intended to be able to be repaired, not a throwaway generation like we live in currently. And so I really do enjoy things that have both form and function. I would say I collect vintage watches, and I probably have definitely some wristwatches in my collection that are, I guess I would say, prized possessions that have some sentimentality to them, whether they were a gift from someone or I found them on a trip. The one that I'm wearing right now actually is the very first name brand watch that I bought, and I got it in a bazaar in Turkey. Which is, you can't, you bought a used watch in the Turkish bazaar. It sounds something made up, but my friend who was there, I was traveling with, spoke fluent Turkish, and we negotiated hard. And I brought the watch home and got it worked on. And to this day, it's one of my favorites. Man, if we were immortal, if you could live forever, what the heck would you do? I mean, you just tick things off, and you have all the time in the world, I suppose. Although this is a scary time to think about being immortal because the future seems quite uncertain. But I would guess that all generations have that same sentiment that we have today, although we are seemingly at an impasse. I would want to learn all the languages, so then I could travel and see all the places. There is something about being able to speak a language when you land someplace to really connect with people. And then after that, I would say learn all the instruments because like music is such a way to connect with people as well. Yeah, and then I think just you got to go on adventures and immerse yourself in different places. It's like I think about now, like you have limited time, right, on this planet, each of us, and it's all uncertain. I'd love to have lived a decade in New York City. I would love to have lived a decade in Paris, but you can only pick so many. You have to pick and choose your battles now. But yeah, languages, music, travel, engaging with people, and hopefully leaving the world a little bit better place if you've got all that time on your hands. Oh, am I misunderstood? I don't know. I would say one that comes up right away. It's a little, I guess, like is super superficial. Is extremely superficial. Is people think that I'm super serious and unapproachable, which I just have resting bitch face. It's a real thing. My relaxed face is not one of a smile. It's like so if I'm just like working the bar or whatever, and I'm like doing a ticket or I'm like thinking about something like they're like, oh, everyone's like, what's wrong? Smile. I'm like, I'm great. I'm in a good mood. I'm not, I don't have that walk down the street, like kicking my heels, whistling. On the work side of things, I get a little bit pigeonholed. People think because I worked at the Aviary, which is a very, somewhat of a technical approach to cocktails. It uses a lot of like molecular techniques and it's progressive in that way. They think that that's the way I adapt my cocktails. But I had been bartending for 15 years before I worked there, and I would say my style is the polar opposite of that. It's much less scientific, much more like I don't know, like freeform jazz or something. I learned how to make proper cocktails from I bartended volume prior to that, and was influenced by the best palate that was around me, which was the chef at the time. And so I actually prefer making very simple cocktails where every ingredient plays a key role. And I think you can do less with more. And I do love exploration and I do love kind of nouveau techniques, but it's not my go-to. It's like I'm not making spheres and pearls or distilling anything when I want a cocktail at home. I'm going to probably grab 3 or 4 bottles and that'll do the trick for me. I have mixed feelings about guilty pleasures. In general, I don't think we should have any guilty pleasures. I grew up Catholic, so I'm all about as an adult throwing out shame because they shove that on us. And like, I think half of the world's problems could be solved if we were to let go of shame. I was talking about this with someone this summer, and I was like, oh, like my guilty pleasure cocktail. I love a Miami Vice, like a half strawberry daiquiri and a half pina colada. It's like, you know what? I don't feel guilty about that. Like it's like when you go to a proper bar and a bartender does it well, it's delicious. And you know what? If it's like a shitty mix someplace, there's a time and a place for that too. Put an umbrella in it and get me a beach chair, and I'm gonna enjoy that as well. I'm not drinking like 9 of them a night or anything, but yeah, I say screw guilty pleasures. Enjoy what you enjoy and embrace it. How do I want to be remembered? That's a macabre question to ask. I'm hoping that I don't have to plan for that anytime soon. But I do think as we get a little bit older, you do think a little bit about your legacy in some ways, which sounds crazy, but I am of a certain age at this point. I would hope as a good friend, I would hope as someone who showed up when the call happened. I think in general, that's something that I believe in, kind of taking action. If you see something going wrong, I think complacency is something that drives me nuts, or kind of standing by on the sidelines when someone needs a hand. Hope people like my cocktails. I've always been flattered when people say I've said that I've had a good palate, was able to balance and do my job well and host. And I think when it comes to going out and enjoying time with friends or family, I'm never the instigator of the problems, but I do escalate them. I will accept full responsibility for escalating the party. I usually am not the one to push us off the ledge, but I'll grab onto everyone and pick up speed for sure as we go downhill. Oh man, I just got celebrity crush. Let me think about this for a second. Who do I? Uh, I'm not trying to think of like not just like the last, movie I saw and be like, oh yeah, that was. I'd love to make that person a cocktail. From a musician standpoint, like Gwen Stefani, she could do the music. I'll make cocktails at the party. That'd be cool. Like I always thought she was uh, a cool rocker chick. Bucket list, and we're talking about legacy. It's like I wonder if somebody knows something that I don't. I need to go to my doc and get checked up or something. I do have, so this year is nearly over, so let's put it in the next 12 months scenario. And I would say I do I wanted to do a book for years, and I've been putting it off. I procrastinated for half a decade plus on doing that. So that's a massive project that I would love to get together and put some thoughts down. And I think that kind of ties into legacy a little bit as well. I know there's so many great cocktail books out there and so much great material now written, but I think there's benefit to read lots of different people's perspective. I've started to dip my toe into traveling again. Took my first international trip not so long ago. I really want to get to Portugal, and also want to get back down to Puerto Rico, which is an underappreciated place, I think. And I definitely lean towards shaken. It's gonna be a daiquiri or a margarita, or something in that vein. And if I'm drinking something more spirit forward, I typically will just drink a spirit neat if I'm gonna go boozy, or drop a cube in some old rum, or just sip some neat tequila or mezcal. So yeah, if it kind of shaken or stirred, for me, if it's a full-fledged cocktail, I'm probably going to grab my shaker and get to work. And if it's booze forward, I'm more often going to just pour the booze in a glass and drink it as God intended. If I couldn't be a bartender, well, in one of my many past lives, I went to school for pre-vet med, and so I absolutely love that. I mean, there's been times when I've thought, I'm like, man, can I continue to do what I do now? Can I go back to school and finish that? Can I, it would be a massive undertaking at this point. I absolutely love working with animals. It's just something, the purity there's no ulterior motive. They're animals, and it is what it is. They either want affection or food. I don't know. I'm just like, I've always loved sciences in that way as well. The biology and anatomy and kind of the physical sciences have always been fascinating to me. The other end of that, someone like the nasty math and the number side of it didn't agree with the way my brain works. I still am involved very much in a lot of different animal rescue causes and things like that. So I get involved where I can. I actually have a thing about stuff in my pockets. I can't stand having a pocket full of change. It drives me absolutely nuts. It's when I go to some place like the UK and you're using pounds and you get like coin pounds. I'm like, no, like, it's just can't stand a jangly pocket full of change for some reason. I don't carry a wallet. I just use a little clip for a couple of credit cards and ID, and enough cash just to tip or whatever. So I travel pretty light as far as that goes. I'm usually wearing a watch. I sometimes will have a pocket knife with me quite often as well. And even my keys, I just keep clipped on my belt. When I do bring a bag, like when I'm traveling though, I'm kind of like a Boy Scout and have a little bit of everything. Somebody will need something. I'll be like, oh, you need a roll of duct tape? Great. I've got that in here. Bobby pins, I haven't had hair in 10 years. But yeah, I've got them for some reason in my bag. When I do have a bag though, and I'm doing an event or something, I'm very prepared in that way. I prefer to have it, not need it, than not need it and be scrambling. Picking one memory in the business is that stands out as the most treasured is tough. I think there's been cool highlights from awards and things that like your mind may go to. Winning world class, that's amazing. Like and it's incredible, and it's been life changing, and something that I'm still very involved with. But when I think back, it's going to be moments with people, and I think a lot of those are tied to some of the incredible trips that I've gotten to go on and enjoy a time and place with wonderful groups of people. So much of our industry is casual and quick passing, and we have a million acquaintances, which is awesome. But it's great to have those trips where you get to spend 5, 6, 7 days and get to actually know some of these folks, and that's where I think some of the longest terms and the best friendships have had the seeds planted, at least for me, and those are some of the most important ones. I've had a bunch of mentors over the years. I think I still have mentors. I still call on people that I respect, and I think it's part of always continuing to learn. One woman that you'll always hear me talk about is Bridget Albert, and she came up under Tony Aboganum. She was in Vegas. She came to Chicago. Tony's a legend in his own right and has become a friend and a mentor over the years. But she came into Chicago and was really the person who taught me, like gave me my first real cocktail. And like, I was like, gave me the aha moment where I was like, oh, this is what a cocktail can be. It doesn't need to be complicated with ingredients we already have in house. Like this could be delicious. And then, '06 or whatever it was, like had that, and I was like, oh, I'd already been bartending for years prior to that, and making drinks as we did in high volume places. No shame in that whatsoever, providing a valuable public service. But what gave me longevity in this business, what made me want to do it as someone at my age and continue to do it, was being able to combine hospitality and kind of hosting that party every night, and then also having this craft attached to it and this amazing history, that craft of the cocktail. And so she's been instrumental. I mean, she changed the course of, one of the biggest cities in the United States, liquid landscapes, if you will. If you look at the family tree, so many amazing bartenders and bars came from Bridget, and I think she's super humble and is not self-promoting whatsoever. And so she does not get the attention or spotlight that she very well deserves. And I think coming up when I did earlier in the scene as well, I was very fortunate. It was just smaller. And so you had access, go to Tales 14 years ago at Tales of the Cocktail, 14 years ago, and you go to the bar at the Hotel Monteleone, Dale DeGroff might be spinning around at the bar, and you could just pop a squat next to him and start chatting him up. And so, guys like that have become buddies over the years. And so I feel very fortunate for sure to have come, I guess, maybe second wave at that point for some of those people that had really laid the foundation for what would become the cocktail renaissance that we're in right now. It's crazy. None of us thought it was going to happen. A very cool time to get started in it. But long story short, Bridget, she's amazing. Check her out. She's still doing her thing here in the Chicago area, and she's an incredible person. I have a strict philosophy or mantra. There's nothing like printed above my doorway that I tap as I walk through it. But I think in general, I think it's simple. Do whatever you want as long as it's consensual with everyone around you, and it doesn't hurt anyone else. Like, who cares what anyone else is doing? I am not short of hobbies. I have a million hobbies. So there's that question of living forever. I'd have all the hobbies too. So I'm big into the vintage and antiques, and I think I've got like a 95-year-old grandmother that's trapped inside me. Again, probably part of my upbringing, and so it's been like this forever. And so I'd be like a 20-year-old punk rock kid with red tips in my hair or something, and walking into an antique shop, and still half the time when I go in, they look at me like, is this guy gonna buy anything, or is he gonna like pickpocket something? Like you're tattooed or a leather jacket or whatever. They don't look like the typical person for that hobby. I love my plants, whether it's house plants, and big fan of tropical plants like ferns and things. And got to do some more gardening this year, which I really enjoy. I like to spend as much time with my dog as possible, and I'm a big advocate for rescue animals. It's something that's super important to me, especially in the United States. We have a massive problem. We euthanize like 2 to 3 million animals a year in shelters, and people are still purchasing pets for thousands of dollars, which drives me nuts because there's little fur babies out there, all shapes and sizes and temperaments and ages and breeds that are waiting to get adopted. I advocate as much as I can for that, and without completely annoying everyone around me. I love to travel. I like to cook. I don't play music as much as I did. That's something I would like to do. I would like to pick my guitar back up. Yeah, lots of hobbies. I would encourage people. It's like, try different things. Like I picked up woodworking, like when I first started bartending, doing like craft cocktail stuff. It's like I really wanted some muddlers, and like all the muddlers were these painted red, horrible little sticks. When you muddle, the paint would come off in your cocktail glass. So I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to turn wood, and then went and took a class, and watched some videos online, and figured out how to do it. Started making muddlers in my garage. It's like that. It's fun. It's fulfilling. I don't know, whatever it is you want to do, but get out there and do it. Don't make your hobby binge watching Netflix. Although that's fun once in a while too, to unplug. I've got a lot of balls in the air right now in terms of career and whatnot. So 5 years from now, it's hard to pinpoint. I would love to continue to grow our bottle cocktail business. We're a team of 8 people who know what we're doing. We may be able to take that brand to 200,000 cases a year or something, but we're not in the business of international distribution or anything like that. So you usually find a bigger company to come work with. It would be awesome to kind of this baby that we've nurtured over the last 8 years plus, to kind of let it spread its wings and fly. I have definitely been checking out some other places to live as well around the world. Again, another gift. I think we're trying to look at this, even if it's a tarnished silver lining, look at a silver lining of the pandemic. And it's told me that I can do my job from a lot of different places, which is great. And as long as you have an international airport nearby, and if you need to be someplace, you can jump on a plane and get there, and we can get so many things done virtually as well. And so I would love to, as much as Chicago is my home, I wear the flag on my arm. I could do without Chicago winters. In 5 years from now, I hope to be enjoying sunny winters and not Chicago winters, even if I'm here during our gorgeous spring and summer. So the answer to cat or dog may seem obvious. Yes, I'm a dog person. I am borderline obsessive, and some people would be like, "Drop the borderline. You're obsessed with your dog," and I am. He's a beautiful, handsome pit bull named Jackson. He's a big blockhead who is like his dad. Gracefulness is not our finest attribute, and a little bit goofy, so we get along well. So I love dogs. I like their personality, but that said, I need to like have a caveat, because I've known some fine cats. I've known some very fine cats. I had a beautiful, giant, fluffy white cat that came via a relationship named Pharaoh, but he did have the personality of a dog, so maybe I'm just a dog person. And cats that act like dogs, or like a squirrel act like a dog. I do love, though. It goes back, though. I love all animals, but if I had to choose, team dog. He can hear me sitting literally on the couch, like sitting across from me, so I have to say that. I would love to do television. It's something that appeals to me, kind of sharing what we do in that same light, the personalities in our industry, and so much of the flavor and color is interesting, really interesting to me. And I don't think anyone's successfully broken that barrier yet. And I think it's important. And I think when someone does, a lot of things will happen in our business for everyone involved. And we've garnered a lot, mountains more respect and consideration over the last 20 years in the bartending world. But we live in a bubble, and there's still so many people that don't know about this yet. What we do in bartending and cocktails and hospitality is not a fad or something that's fleeting, that it really becomes this standard. One of the authors that I go back to and I've read for years is definitely Bukowski. I think he is also on one of my lists of like living or dead. If you can have a drink with somebody, who would you have a drink with? Although we would probably get into a fight at the bar and both get tossed out, I would guess. He's a curmudgeon. He's irreverent. He definitely would not survive very long in 2021. It's the blue collar answer to finer literature that was happening, and the idea of what writing was supposed to be when he was writing. It was the antithesis of that, and kind of turned everything upside down. It was like, no, you can write how you speak, and it can still be prose in its own right, and still be art in its own right. And so I go back to him quite a bit. My favorite lyric from a song inadvertently ties into my favorite writer as well, and it's by a band called Hot Water Music, which is the name of one of his compendiums as well. And they're kind of a post-punk band. It came out of Gainesville, Florida, and it's a part of a song called Hit and Miss. And it says, "For all the nights I've missed because the whiskey stole them away." And it always kind of resonated with me. And I've always thought that might work its way into a tattoo at some point. It's a song about friendships, and it's a song about good times together and challenges, and overcoming adversity and getting back up even when you stumble. And what makes me happy? The same thing that makes everybody happy: puppies. Give me a bag full of puppies. That's all I need. That's happiness. I mean, for real though. Immediate positive chemical release. Go pet a dog and you'll feel better. My guy, it makes me laugh every day. I think it's funny to think back and be like, what if you met your 20-year-old self? What if you bumped into one another? And I would tell my 20-year-old self, one, believe the hype for Bitcoin and just like invest $1,000 in it when it's like 6 cents for a Bitcoin. Because then we like, my sweater would be so much nicer right now. No, I think also like in all reality, keep a journal, and because you will not remember who you met and where you've been. I don't have that photographic memory that some people are blessed with. And also, I had a really good time in my 20s. I probably would have turned it down by about 25%. Yeah, if I could transport myself anywhere, my favorite place, I would be maybe on a cafe, waterside in southern Spain. I can transport my dog with me because that's the way, this is my fantasy, with 6 or 7, friends, my gal with me, and some nice tapas, and a chilled bottle of Fino or Manzanilla sherry, ice cold, on the table. Some flamenco in the background. And it sounds a little cliche, but it's all over down there. It's a real thing. And sun kind of beating down on you, perfect, 82 degrees. That would be that's magical. I could retire to that. I'm probably gonna go daiquiri. It's a drink that I make most often for myself. Mix up a couple different rums together. I like to blend together some aged stuff uh, with some white rums and a little dash of bitters. I just think it's there. I love that idea and agree with that holy trinity of rum, lime, and just enough sugar. Those three things are like perfection when done right.